First we will create a new project here. So I am going to use my existing solution. Here I am going to right click on my solution, add new project. Here I am going to select ASP.NET Core Web Application and I am going to use the MVC. Click on next. Here I will give the project name. Project is going to store in this location. Click on next. Here we can select the latest .NET framework. I am selecting .NET 7.0. Create it. So my project is creating now. Project has been created. I'll expand this. I am going to make this project as starter project. Since we have multiple projects, we have to set it as starter project. Right click on the project, set as starter project. Here we are going to use the entity framework code first approach. For this we have to install required packages. For that, right click on the project, go to the manage NuGet packages. Here we are going to install entity framework related packages. I will search for entity framework core. So I am going to install entity framework core first. Install it. You can select the latest version. Accept the license terms. So this has been installed. Now I want to install design also. Accept it. Next we have to install SQL Server. Database we are going to use the SQL Server. For that I am going to install entity framework core.SQL Server package also. Then we have to install tools. Whenever we are going to use the code first approach, we need the tools package for the migration purpose. I am going to select this package and install it. Then we need latest bootstrap version. So that bootstrap package also we can install it here. Select bootstrap and we have the latest version of 5.3.0. Install it. So this also installed. Now go to the models. Here I am going to create one folder called DB entities, where we can store all the DB related entities inside this folder. Here I am going to create a model called product. Here I am going to define the properties for product model. I need ID. This is going to be primary key. So we can define as key. Product name, then price, quantity. Product name will be mandatory, so I am going to make it required. So we can add required attribute for mandatory fields. Also I want to change the display name here. Whenever we are displaying this product name, I want to add space between this product and name. So this product name will be used to communicate with the database, and to display purpose we can change this name. So this label will be used for display purpose. This will be used to communicate with the database. So now we have created our product model. Now I am going to create one more folder called DAL inside the project. Right click on the DAL folder, add class. I am going to create one more class here. Here I am going to create one DB context class, which is going to inherit it from the DB context. Select the DB context and go to the quick actions and generate a constructor with the options. So this app DB context will be used to communicate between the application and the database server. Here we have to add the our DB set. We have only single table here, that is product model. Here we have to add the namespace, which is DB entities. Our product is available inside this project models and DB entities location. So I will make it as products. Now we have to migrate this table to our SQL Server. For that, we have to use the connection string. Go to the app settings.json. Here we have to add the connection string. So here this connection string will be available inside our previous projects. I will copy it from there. So I need connection string. So this is our SQL Server. So we have to provide DB name here. So this is my SQL instance name. If you have multiple SQL instances, then you have to provide this instance name also. Here database name, I will give it as this is my DB name, and we are going to use the Windows authentication. That's why I have provided integrated security as true. Now this connection string we have to add it into the program.cs as a dependency injection. So this also I will copy it from my previous session. So I am copying this dependency injection, and we can go to the program.cs class. So here I am going to add the dependency injection. So here we have to provide our DB context name. So I will copy it from here. This is my DB context name, and here we have to add the namespace, and here DB connection name also we have to provide. So this connection string name will be available here. I am taking the same name. So now we can communicate easily with the database. So go to the package manager console. So we have to migrate this model to the database called CRUD with Modal Popup. So we are going to create this database as well as the product model inside our SQL Server. So go to the package manager console, and here add migration. Here we have to provide the migration name. So I will make it as initial migration. Enter. So when you have multiple projects, ensure default project should be our current project, then only we can migrate our models here. So build succeeded. Now we have to update the database. Enter. So migration is successful. Now we will go to the database, refresh the databases here. So our database has been created. We can expand this database. Go to the tables. So our product table is created with 4 columns. Now we will create a controller for product. Go to the controllers, right click. I am going to create a new controller here. I am taking empty controller, add, I'll name it as product controller, click on add. To communicate with the database, first we have to initialize the DB context. This is our DB context name. Select the context, go to the quick actions, generate the constructor here. So now by using this context we can communicate with the database. First we are going to read the data from the database. For that we are going to use the entity framework here. First I will create one private method here which is going to return JSON result get products. So this is not going to create any view, that's why I am making as non-action method. Here I can read product from the database, context dot products table dot to list. So we will get the list of products from the product table. We are going to return as JSON. Assign these products. So our method is ready to get the data from the database. Now we are going to create a view for this. Right click on the index, add view. I am going to create a empty razor view, add it. I will name it as index. First I am going to add model here. It is available inside our project, models, DB entities, product. So this is our model. Here I am going to define title, so which will be saved inside the view data. So this is my title. I will display inside h3 tag, so I can reuse this title. After this I will add one horizontal row. Here I am going to add one button to create new product. I will add the class So here I am defining margin bottom 2. These are all the bootstrap classes I am adding. I will give the title as add product, and also here I will define one ID for this add button, because we are going to use the modal popup. To call this button, just I am going to give one ID as btn add. Inside next div I am going to display the data. I will give the bootstrap class as container. Here I will define the table. For table I will add bootstrap classes. Inside this I will add table headers, and I will define ID, product name, price, quantity. So here we have to create a table row. Inside table row, our table headings will be there. After table header, so we will add the table body. So we are going to bind the data here. So this we are going to bind data dynamically. We are not going to fetch it here. Here even we don't want modal also, because this data will be binding from the jQuery. So for that purpose I will give ID for this table body, TBL body. So this data also I am going to bind it from jQuery. Go to the Solution Explorer, www.root.js. Here we are going to create one custom JS file to add all our logics to bind the data into the table body. For that, right click on the JS folder, add new item. Here I can search for JavaScript. So I'll name it as product JS. First here I am going to write document.ready function. For that, whenever page loads initially, so we have to call a function here to load the product list. Here I am going to write a function to get all the products. I will write one function. So whenever page loads initially, we will call this function. Here I am going to use the AJAX method to call the data from the controller. Here we have to pass URL, then we have to pass the type, whether it's a GET or POST request, then we have to pass the data type, then we have to pass the content type. Here we have to pass the URL, so which we are going to read the data. So this is the product controller. From product controller I am going to get products. Here I will pass it as product controller. First we have to give the controller name, then our method name. So this is the method which we are going to call it, get products. Then type will be get. We are going to read the data from the database, that's why I am passing type as get method. And data type, we are going to expect the data as JSON format, so here I have to pass JSON. Here content type, while getting the data we are going to encode it. For that I have to pass content type as JSON. Encoding type also we have to pass here UTF-8. Then here if it is success, we will get the data. I am going to create a function here, so we will get the response from the controller. If response is null, here we have to validate this. It can be undefined. length also we have to check here. So if any condition is satisfied, then we have to display the message as products not available in the database. I'll create a object here. I'm going to store the information in the object format. So here I'm going to append the data. I'll define the table row here. Then it will be td. Here I have to pass class here, call span. Here we have to use the call span. If there is no data, so we have to display the default message. So here we have 5 columns will come. So here one more we have to add it as action to display the action buttons. So I'll give the call span as 5. Here message will be displayed as products not available. This is the default message which we are going to display to the user. Then we have to close the table row. Then we have to bind the data to the TBL body. So we can take it ID from here to this table body. We are going to attach the data. We have to pass object of data. Suppose if response is not null or response is not undefined, if table is having any data, then we are going to display this data here. Again here I am going to define the object. I am going to append the data here. Here we will get the list of products, so we have to use the loop. For that I will use the each, and here I will get the response. Here we will get index and item. Inside this I will append the data. First I have to create a table row here. Then I will create table data, and I can use the table data. Inside this I am going to display the item dot id first. So here we are showing the ID, then I have to display other items also like this, then product name, then we have to display the product name, then price, then quantity. each row we have to display the edit and delete buttons also. That also, those buttons also we are going to add it dynamically. So here I am going to use object. Here I am appending those buttons also. TD. Here I am going to use the anchor tag. Then I'll use it. Reference here. Here I'll use the class. I'm going to display small buttons here. And whenever user clicks on this button, I have to get the ID of that row. For that I'll use the on click. Here I'll use it edit. Then I'm going to get the item ID here, item.id. Here I'll give the title as edit, and then I'll close. Likewise, I'm going to add one more anchor tag for deletion. This is delete. So finally we have to attach this to the table body. Suppose if there is any error here, we have to alert this. Here I will create a function. Alert. So this is the message. I'm going to display this. So whenever document is loaded, we are going to call this read method. So this is the method which we are going to read the data from the controller. This is the controller name, this is the method name. So we are going to pass which type of request we are passing to the server side. So here we are passing the method type and the data type. Now we can read the data from the database. So now we have to link this product.js into the index view, because we are going to read the data from the index view. For that I have to link it here. So I have to link two files. Go to the js lib. Here I need to get the jQuery file also. I have to add the jQuery.min here. So we now need to add all these files. So this jQuery.min is enough, and we have customized one JS file, that is product.js, also required here. Now we will go to the layout.cs HTML partial view, and we are going to add one nav item here for our product. So controller name will be product, and action method will be index, and the title is product. Save all changes. So now we have linked jQuery as well as the product.js. Run the application. Click on product. So it's getting error like unable to read the data. So we have to check what is the issue we are facing here. We will go to the application and we will check it here. URL product and get products, type, data type, everything looks good. So here we linked product.js. So we'll debug here. We'll run in debug mode. so it's not hitting our debugger. So here we will remove this non-action attribute, because whenever we are using inside any other action method, that time we can use the non-action. So this may be blocking this. Again we will run the application in debug mode. We click on product. Still we are getting as unable to read the data, so we will change it to public instead of private. We'll run this. Now it is hitting to our controller. We will check the products. So currently we don't have any products inside our table, so it's showing 0. I'll click on F5. So the message is showing as products not available, so we have to check on call span. It should span for 5 columns. We will check it that. So here we have to remove the non-action, and instead of private method we can make it as public. So here I have to check the call span. Okay, so this is the issue. I'll run it again. So now it's loading correctly. Products not available. So now we can add few products from the back end and we can test it. We will add the products from the back end. So we have added 2 products. We will go to our application. We will reload it. Yeah, it's loading perfectly, and we have to change the design for this delete button alone. We will go to our JavaScript. So it should be danger. We will reload it again. So now it is showing correctly. Like this we can bind the data by using jQuery and AJAX methods. So in next session we are going to perform insert. We are going to perform insert, update and delete